Written by Michelle Jonah. Chapter 1. Crying in H Mart. Ever since my mom died, I cry in H Mart. H Mart is a supermarket chain that specializes in Asian food. The H stands for Hanarum, a Korean phrase that roughly translates to one arm full of groceries. H Mart is where parachute kids flock to find a brand of instant noodles that reminds them of home. It's where Korean families buy rice cakes to make tteokguk, the beef and rice cake soup that brings in the new year. It's the only place where you can find a giant vat of peeled garlic because it's the only place that truly understands how much garlic you will need for the kind of food your people eat. H Mart is freedom from the single-aisle ethnic section in regular grocery stores. They don't prop Goya bins next to bottles of sriracha here. Instead, you will likely find me crying by the banchan refrigerators, remembering the taste of my mom's soy sauce eggs and cold radish soup. Or in the freezer section, holding a stack of dumpling skins, thinking of all the hours that Mom and I spent at the kitchen table, folding minced pork and chives into the thin dough. Sewing near the dry goods, asking myself, am I even Korean anymore if there's no one left to call and ask which brand of seaweed we used to buy? Growing up in America with a Caucasian father and a Korean mother, I relied on my mom for access to our Korean heritage. While she never actually taught me how to cook, Korean people tend to disavow measurements and supply only cryptic instructions along the lines of add sesame oil until it tastes like mom's. She did raise me with a distinctly Korean appetite. This meant a reverence for good food and a predisposition to emotional eating. We were particular about everything. Kimchi had to be perfectly sour, samgyeopsal perfectly crisped. Stews had to be piping hot, or they might as well have been inedible. The concept of prepping meals for the week was a ludicrous affront to our lifestyle. We chased our craving daily. If we wanted a kimchi stew for 3 weeks straight, we relished it until a new craving emerged. We ate in accordance with the seasons and holidays. When spring arrived and the weather turned, we'd bring our camping stove outdoors and fry up strips of fresh pork belly on the deck. On my birthdays, we ate miyeokguk, a hearty seaweed soup full of nutrients that women are encouraged to eat postpartum and that Koreans traditionally eat on their birthdays to celebrate their mothers. Food was how my mother expressed her love. No matter how critical or cruel she could seem, constantly pushing me to meet her intractable expectations, I could always feel her affection radiating from the lunches she packed and the meals she prepared for me just the way I liked them. I can hardly speak Korean, but in H Mart it feels like I'm fluent. I fondle the produce and say the words aloud. 참외 melon, 단무지. I fill my shopping cart with every snack that has glossy packaging decorated with a familiar cartoon. I think about the time Mom showed me how to fold a little plastic card that came inside the bags of joripong, how to use it as a spoon to shovel caramel puffed rice into my mouth, and how inevitably fell down my shirt and spread all over the car. I remember the snacks Mom told me she ate when she was a kid and how I tried to imagine her at my age. I wanted to like all the things she did, to embody her completely. My grief comes in waves and is usually triggered by something arbitrary. I can tell you with a straight face what it was like watching my mom's hair fall out in the bathtub, or about the 5 weeks I spent sleeping in hospitals. But catch me at H Mart when some kid runs up double-fisting plastic sleeves of bangtigi, and I'll just lose it. Those little rice cake frisbees were my childhood. A happier time when Mom was there and we'd crunch away on the styrofoam-like discs after school, splitting them like packing peanuts that dissolved like sugar on our tongues. I'll cry when I see a Korean grandmother eating seafood noodles in the food court, discarding shrimp heads and mussel shells onto the lid of her daughter's tin rice bowl. Her grey hair frizzy, cheekbones protruding like the tops of two peaches, tattooed eyebrows rusting as the ink fades out. I'll wonder what my mom would have looked like in her 70s if she'd had wound up with the same perm that every Korean grandma gets, as though it were a part of our race's evolution. I'll imagine our arms linked, her small frame leaning against mine, as we take the escalator up to the food court. The two of us in all black, New York style should say, her image of New York still rooted in the era of breakfast at Tiffany's. She'd carry the quilted leather Chanel purse that she'd wanted her whole life, instead of her fake ones that she bought on the back streets of Itaewon. Her hands and face would be slightly sticky from QVR anti-icing cream. She'd wear some strange high-top sneaker wedge that I'd disagree with. Michelle, in Korea, every celebrity wears this one. She'd pluck the lint off my coat and pick on me how my shoulders slumped, how I needed new shoes, how I should really start using the argan oil treatment she bought me. But we'd be together. If I'm being honest, there's a lot of anger. I'm angry at this old Korean woman I don't know, that she gets to live and my mother does not, like somehow this strange survival is at all related to my loss. That someone my mother's age could still have a mother. Why is she here slurping up spicy jjampong noodles and my mom isn't? Other people must feel this way. Life is unfair, and sometimes it helps to irrationally blame someone for it. Sometimes my grief feels as though I've been left alone in a room with no doors. Every time I remember that my mother is dead, it feels like I'm colliding with a wall that won't give. There's no escape, just a hard surface that I keep ramming into over and over. A reminder of the immutable reality that I will never see her again. H Marts are usually situated on the outskirts of the city and serve as a secondary center of strip malls of Asian storefronts and restaurants that are always better than the ones found closer to town. We are talking Korean restaurants that pack the tables so full of banchan side dishes that you're forced to play a never-ending game of horizontal Jenga with 12 tiny plates of stir-fried anchovies, stuffed cucumbers, and pickled everything. This isn't like the said Asian fusion joint by your work, where they serve bell peppers in their bibimbap and give you the stink eye when you ask for another round of wilted bean sprouts. This is the real deal. You will know that you're headed the right way because there will be signs to mark your path. As you go further into your pilgrimage, the lettering on the earnings slowly begins to turn into symbols that you may or you may not able to read. This is when my elementary grade Korean skills are put to the test. How fast can I sound out the vowels in traffic? I spent more than 6 years going to 한글학교 every Friday, and this is all I have to show for it. I can read the signs for churches, for an optometrist's office, a bank. A couple more blocks in, and we are in the heart of it. Suddenly, it's another country, everyone is Asian, a swamp of different dialect, crisscross like invisible telephone wires. The only English words are hot pot and liquors. and they're all buried beneath an assortment of glyphs and graphemes, with an anime tiger or hot dog dancing next to them. Inside an H Mart complex, there will be some kind of food court, an appliance shop, and a pharmacy. Usually, there is a beauty counter where you can buy Korean makeup and skincare products with a snail machine or caviar oil, or a face mask that regularly boosts placenta. Whose placenta? Who knows? There will usually be a pseudo-French bakery with weak coffee, bubble tea, and an array of glowing pastries that always look much better than the taste. My local H Mart these days is in Elkins Park, a town northeast of Philadelphia. My routine is to drive in for lunch on the weekend, stock up on groceries for the week, and cook something for dinner with whatever fresh bounty inspires me. The H Mart in Elkins Park has 2 stories. The grocery is on the first floor, and the food court is above it. Upstairs, there is an array of stalls serving different kinds of food. One is dedicated to sushi, one is strictly Chinese. Another is for traditional Korean jigaes, bubbling soup served in traditional earthenware pots called tukbaegis, which acts as mini cauldrons to ensure that your soup is still bubbling a good 10 minutes past arrival. There is a stall for Korean street food that serves up Korean ramen, basically just thin cup noodles with an egg cracked in, giant steamed dumplings full of pork, and glass noodles housed in a thick, cake-like dough. And tteokbokki, chewy, bite-sized, cylindrical rice cakes boiled in a stock with fish cakes, red pepper, and gochujang, a sweet and spicy paste that's one of the 3 mother sauces used in pretty much all Korean dishes. Last, there's my personal favorite, Korean-Chinese fusion, which serves 탕수육, a glossy, sweet and sour orange pork, seafood noodle soup, fried rice, and black bean noodles. The food court is the perfect place to people watch while sucking down salty, fatty jjajangmyeon. I think about my family who lived in Korea before most of them died, and how Korean Chinese was always the first thing we'd eat when my mom and I arrived in Seoul after a 14-hour flight from America. 20 minutes after my aunt would phone in our order, the apartment ringer would buzz for release in MIDI, and up would come a helmeted man fresh off his motorcycle with a giant steel box. He'd slide open the metal door and deliver heaping bowls of noodles and deep-fried battered pork with its rich sauce on the side. The plastic wrap on top would be concave and sweating. We'd peel it off in dribble black, chunky goodness all over the noodles and poke the shiny, sticky, translucent orange sauce over the pork. We'd sit cross-legged on the cool marble floor, slopping and reaching over one another. My aunt and mom and my grandmother would jabble on in Korean, and I would eat and listen, unable to comprehend, bothering my mom every so often, asking her to translate. I wonder how many people at H Mart miss their families. How many are thinking of them as they bring their trays back from the different stalls? If they are eating to feel connected, to celebrate these people through food, which ones weren't able to fly back home this year, or for the past 10 years? Which ones are like me, missing the people who are gone from their lives forever? At one table is a group of young Chinese students alone with family at schools in America. They have banded together to take the bus 45 minutes outside the city, into the suburbs of a foreign country for soup dumplings. At another table, there are 3 generations of Korean women eating 3 different types of stew. Daughter, mother, and grandmother dipping their spoons into one another's bowls, reaching over one another's trays, arms in one another's faces, pinching at the different banchan with chopsticks. None of them pay any heed or give a second thought to the concept of personal space. There is a young white man and his family. They giggle together as they try to pronounce the menu. The son explains to his parents the different dishes they've ordered. Maybe he was stationed in Seoul for military service or taught English abroad. Maybe he's the only one in his family with a passport. Maybe this will be the moment his family decides it's time to travel and discover these things themselves. There's an Asian guy blowing his girlfriend's mind, introducing her to a new world of flavors and textures. He shows her how to eat mulnaengmyeon, a cold noodle soup that tastes better if you add vinegar and hot mustard first. He tells her how his parents came to this country, how he watched his mom make this dish at home. When she made it, she didn't add zucchini, she supped radishes instead. An old man hobbles over to a neighboring table to order the chicken and ginseng porridge that he probably eats here every day. Bells go off for people to collect their orders. Behind the counters, women in visors walk without stopping. It's a beautiful, holy place, a cafeteria full of people from all over the world who have been displaced in a foreign country, each with a different history. Where did they come from and how far did they travel? Why are they all here? To find the galangal, the American supermarket stocks to make the Indonesian curry that their father loves. To buy the rice cakes to celebrate Chesa and honor the anniversary of their loved one's passing. To satisfy a craving for tteokbokki on a rainy day, moved by a memory of some drunken late-night snack under 포장마차 tent in Myeongdong. We don't talk about it. There's never so much as a knowing look. We sit here in silence, eating our lunch. But I know we are all here for the same reason. We are all searching for a piece of home or a piece of ourselves. We look for a taste of it in the food we order and the ingredients we buy. Then we separate. We bring the whole back to our dorm rooms or our suburban kitchens, and we recreate the dish that couldn't be made without our journey. What we are looking for isn't available at the Trader Joe's. H Mart is where your people gather under one adorous roof, full of faith that they will find something they can't find anywhere else. In the H Mart food court, I find myself again searching for the first chapter of the story I want to tell about my mother. I'm sitting next to a Korean mother and a son who have unknowingly taken the table next to old waterworks. The kid dutifully gets their silverware from the counter and places it on paper napkins for both of them. He's eating fried rice and his mom has seolleongtang, oxbun soup. He must be in his early 20s, but his mother is still introducing him on how to eat, just like my mom used to. Dip the onion into the paste. Don't add too much gochujang, or it will be too salty. Why aren't you eating the mung beans? Some days the constant nagging would annoy me. Woman, let me eat in peace. But most days I knew it was the ultimate display of a Korean woman's tenderness. And I cherished that love. A love I'd do anything to have back. The boy's mom places pieces of beef from her spoon onto his. He's quiet and looks tired and doesn't talk to her much. I want to tell him how much I miss my mother. How he should be kind to his mom. Remember that life is fragile and she could be gone at any moment. Tell her to go to the doctor and make sure there isn't a small tumor growing inside her too. Within 5 years, I lost both my aunt and my mother to cancer. So when I go to H Mart, I'm not just on the hunt for cuttlefish and 3 bunches of scallions for $1. I'm searching for memories. I'm collecting the evidence that the Korean half of my identity didn't die when they did. H Mart is the bridge that guides me away from the memories that haunt me, of a chemo head and skeletal bodies and logging milligrams of hydrocodone. It reminds me of who they were before, beautiful and full of life, wiggling Janggu honey crack rings on all 10 of our fingers, showing me how to suck a Korean grape from its skin and spit out the seed.